Hello everyone. So let's say you have a Volkswagen Passat or a Golf and you want to swap an engine because the engine went out. So you're probably having a question like I had. Will a engine from a 1.8 Golf fit inside a 1.8 Passat or Jetta or Beetle? Even though they say it's all the same, but is it really the same? So stay tuned and I'll show you if it is or not. So here it is, the 2016 Volkswagen Passat. It had a problem with a 1.8 liter engine. The problem was with the car misfiring on the cylinder 2. And it previously had also an issue with the magnet and all the stuff. I'll show it to you in a moment because I don't remember what it's called. So the engine needed to be replaced. I did have an engine from a Golf Sportwagen, just like that one. Both of them were 1.8 liter. So I was like, from the outside, the engine looks pretty similar, but there is a lot of stuff around it that doesn't look very similar. So I decided to go ahead and do the swap anyway. And let me show you what's the differences between those two engines. You're probably also wondering, why do I have everything disassembled? Well, I don't have the cherry picker. I don't have a lot of stuff that will be possible to lift the car off to the top, which it is possible, or drop it to, down below, which is also probably the easier way to do it without assembling the whole front end. I don't have a big lift. I only have the quick jack lifts, and this is the way that it would work the best for me. Plus, we can do a lot of maintenance along the way, like AC compressor was destroyed from the car being on the road for so long, which also needed to be replaced. So that's why I did it the way I did it. Now, let's go to the engines. So this is a 1.8 TSI engine. I don't know the code. If I find it right now, I'll let you know. But it's out of this Passat. And this is the part number, 06K108023. And this is the part of the block. They are, the blocks, the head, they're identical between those two things. But you cannot just take the engine out of a Golf and stick it into Passat, or the other way around, because they have a lot of different things. Turbo is the biggest thing that is different. So let me show you that. This is a turbo out of a Golf. It's, as people call it, IS20, although I haven't seen where it says IS20 on it yet, but I guess I'll believe the internet. So this is the turbo out of 1.8 from Golf. It will not fit inside a Passat because it mounts differently. So the turbo over here sits at the top of the engine, where in the Passat it sits down below. Let me show you the Passat's turbo. So here it is. This is the Passat's turbo. It's a Garrett turbo, as you can see over here. That's a Garrett. And it sits like this. This is the top of the turbo. Yep, this is the intake side, and that's the goes to the intercooler, that other port. So that's why these two turbos are different, and they have to be swapped out. Along the way, all the piping, the cooling piping has to be swapped out, and believe it or not, the wiring also has to be swapped out. You're probably thinking, the wiring? Why the heck the wiring has to be different? Well, there are a few things that are on the block itself that are not the same. So let's see from the first thing. This is the oil filter, and it has 1 and 2 connectors for, I guess, oil temperature, oil pressure. And this is a blank spot. Now we go to the Golf's engine, and it has 1, 2, and 3. Whatever that is, I don't know, but I'm not plugging it in, because this is the wiring from the Golf engine, and then we put the wiring out of the Passat engine. So that's one thing that has to be replaced. Well, actually, this is the number 2 that have to be swapped. Number 3, let's go to number 3. So because the turbo sits over the bottom section and the intake goes over the top of the engine, the PCV valve they are pretty much identical. But this PCV valve that has this pipe that's looking in a different direction. It's supposed to go here, but this one has a 90-degree angle, It's swapped from this engine, from the Passat engine. It's swapped into here because that's the one that fits because of this connection where it's supposed to be. So PCV valves have to be swapped too. Now, because you're going to be swapping the turbos, it's not going to be that simple as well. The Golf's R turbo, it has all these connections for the coolant, intake and return. And this is the line that's supposed to go for the Golf, for the coolant return. But for the Passat, the return has to be down below. So now you're going to be stuck with the hole. And what you need to do is get yourself a freeze plug like this. It's only 150 from Advanced Auto. And you would have to hammer it inside in there because the new return has to be here, which was plugged and you have to unplug it. So that's another reason how they are different. Another thing that looks different but actually is the same is the alternator. This is the alternator from the Golf and this is the alternator from the Passat. Visually they are different, but they have the same amperage, they have the same plugs, they say wiring goes in, so no need to swap the alternator. But what we need to swap is the AC compressor. You see, this guy has two plugs, one for the clutch, one for the compressor. Well, the Passat, this is actually from the Passat. That's why it has two. The Golf's AC compressor only has this one plug. There is no other one because this clutch is a little different. So that's another reason why you need to swap the wiring to work with this engine. And straight to the next number of the things we need to swap is the water pump. It does have it had a water pump that was good because this engine only has 67,000 miles. But I insisted on swapping the water pump because, first of all, they all leak, and since we're all in the general area, that's a good thing to do. But another thing is, there is no wiring going to it. This water pump does not have a wiring harness going to it, which is another reason we don't need this one, because there is no wires going to the water pump. Apparently, the Golf's water pump has a module that controls the flow of the coolant. I am honestly not sure what is the working state of that water pump without being plugged in. Will it always reduce the flow as a normal operation, or will always have it open? I don't know. I didn't want to risk it after the engine is going to be ready in the car, and then we have to take the intake and all that jazz just to get to the water pump. So I decided, let's get a new water pump and replace it of the same one as on the Passat. So let me show those two side by side. Here it is. This is the Volkswagen Passat's water pump. This is a Golf's water pump. This piece is the one that I was talking about. It has a plug, electrical plug going to it. And yeah, I was not sure if this is going to be the same or different. So new water pump have to be ordered to be safe. Now this next thing is not a big deal. It's just a bunch of brackets that need to be swapped. Let me show you those. So this bracket, it hasn't been swapped. It goes from here over there. It holds the charge pipe that goes into the intercooler. There is a bracket over here that's holding the water pump, or the water pump bolts to it. Actually, I've seen it holding a wiring, nothing more. And that is pretty much it. Almost forgot. The next thing that needs to be swapped, and it's probably best to do it before you swap the wiring, is this coolant line. Because this coolant line has two pipes over here. Now looking at the Golf's line, it's pretty much the same, but it's also different because this is the two ports. They're in a different location. Not too far away from each other, but they're also further. Like this one is closer inside the engine than the Golf's one. Golf's one is sticking out a little bit out. So that has to be swapped as well. Now, when you're going to be doing this swap, the turbo, once you do it, this cord is probably going to be a pain in the ass to remove. This is from the Golf, and we put it second time just to plug it for the meantime. The one from the Passat it's at an angle. It's supposed to be at an angle. We tried to get it out. For whatever means possible, it does not come out. So that pipe I had to order separately, and I will include the links for everything that I bought for this swap to be possible, which is pretty much not a lot, because a lot of the things we already have out of this engine. So this is pretty much all the differences between the two 1.8 engines that are both in the Golf and the Passat. So if you need to swap one from the other two, from the Golf to the Passat, from the Passat to the Golf, it's possible. It's just a little bit more work than if you would do it from the Passat to Passat. But I would recommend, in order to avoid all these small issues, just to get on the same engine with the same stuff, and then you probably just need to do the turbo swap, because I'm pretty sure if you buy an engine, that turbo will not be included. But if you find the turbo with the engine, good for you. So that's pretty much it. Oh, almost forgot one last thing. So the transmission side, I have forgotten about that. We have to swap this dust plate, if that's how it's called. We have to swap the new one, because the Golf one, not the Golf one, the Passat one is automatic, the Golf is the DHG transmission, so they are different. And another thing, which you're gonna hate, and definitely I did, there is a bearing here on the DHG transmissions. So that bearing is really hard to remove. The only way to do it is to just destroy the heck out of it. I use the Dremel to just grind the outer skin so that it will come out easier. So that's the only kind of headache that I had to deal with in order to make the transmission from the Passat to fit on this engine. Quick update for you all. The engine is in the car, and let me show you the other problem that we came across when we installed it. Alright, it is a little dark. I should have done it earlier. So, because this engine is from a Golf, not from the Passat, this housing that has oil filter and the brackets for the alternator and the AC, well, something's off about it, because whenever we input everything together, even though it seemed that everything is great, this line, the AC line, would not clear the alternator. And the alternator is pretty much the same size, so the alternator is not the problem, but the way AC is mounted on the other one, I'm assuming, is more tilted towards the inside, and that will allow this pipe to clear. The reason it clears right now, and barely, is because we used a bender to bend this pipe slightly out. Otherwise it should have been sitting right here, right? It was not, we would not be able to put it inside a designated spot, because this thing was on its way. So if this is what you're going to be doing, keep in mind, swap your thing. And with that concluded, I hope you enjoyed this video, and good luck on your engine swaps. It's not very difficult, I'll be honest. I'm not a mechanic, but I would do it. And I actually did it with that car.